What about ye? I got myself a personal plate for the car. There it is. Oh, cut! Did get myself a 4425A 4-channel Pico. Now, we've always said and still maintain a starter scope if you're wanting to get into scoping. This, I think, in my opinion, is the way to go. The 2000 series, only 2 channels, but it gets you onto the Pico software and how to navigate it. So what's happened to me, I've had that a few years, and then you just step up to the next sort of level, and this is a proper automotive scope, and that opens up another realm of possibilities, which we're going to go into later on in the video. But for this, you could buy that for £100. You could buy some 4mm Hantek leads HT30A for a tenner. We set a good decent back probes, 15 quid, something like that. Laser in the UK sell them. There's an attenuator, another tenner, HT301, and there's a Marshall sensor, which are very reasonably priced, I believe, and that'll get you into pulse analysis as well. Cheap setup. So here's what Sandy thinks of that.
You won the lottery, Dave? I thought I was doing well buying 24 cans of iron brew. Hey, you bought a PicoScope. Oh, well done, lad. That looks a nice bit of kit.
So there are other budget type PC based starter oscilloscopes available on the market, like the Hanteks, and on this channel we get real world reviews from real world people who are not trying to sell you anything. So here's a few opinions.
Dave Stirl's mentioned me a couple of times, and other people too, and that I always seem to get more after that happens, more subscribers. Yeah, I recently bought a Pico. I had a Hantek before that.
So I got this box, looks like it should have a fish supper in it, but it's because I just bought this on its own. I didn't get a fancy case or anything.
I can only really compare it to the Hantek that I used to have. I've had 2 Hanteks, and like a 1008, and then I got another one that I thought would be quite a bit better than the 1008, but it ended up being just about the same thing. So I can only compare it to a Hantek, and comparing the two, it's so much better,
The major knock on it is the fact that there's virtually no memory buffer at all. So it's kind of useless in that fact. You really need to freeze your data and look at it effectively in real time. There really is no memory buffer. Strictly speaking, that's not true, but it's extremely small. So you're really dealing with real-time captures for the most part. That's the knock on it, and it's slow. PicoScope software, far better.
So that's 3 Scotsmen giving their honest opinions. Moving on to the Pico 4425A and the Pico Auto and the Pico Automotive software, and as well as the hardware difference, it also lets us into the automotive side of Pico technology. And if you go on to PicoAuto.com, you can download Pico Auto for free, and you can run it as a demo device with no scope connected at all. I have no scope connected at all here at the minute, and we'll just stop that. So what that gives us, and I'm sure everybody knows about this, is all these presets. And when you go into that, it'll give you an information page, and it'll also just set the scope up for you. Now, there's a lot of guys, and Sandy Anderson on his channel a good while ago did a video where he copied and pasted all that stuff over into the Pico 6 ordinary software so that he could run his 2204A off it, and it would set the scope up for him. And of course there is a hack available. I have told a select few people how to do that, but I also maintain that it isn't worthwhile doing it because you can copy and paste it over anyway. So I'm sure there's videos on the YouTube now of showing how to do that, but in my opinion you don't get any advantage out of that at all because it does not transform your 2204A into an automotive scope. So with the automotive version, then that's it up there, the PicoScope 6 I'm still using. I've looked at the Pico 7, but I'm used to the Pico 6. But anyway, we'll have this Waveform library browser, and if we go into it, it gives us known goods and known bands from all makes and models that other people have uploaded. Now, I'm already signed in and are logged in, and what you have to do, you have to register with the Pico Tech forum. So once you do that, it'll ask you to log in with your same details. That's free to do, and you can put your make and model and see if you can see some known goods, known bands, and that's a public thing. That's like an open source thing, and allows you to access that. So another wee advantage of the automotive there. And what we also get is additional software. So we get this application here. Now, this is the software I'm talking about. Obviously, there's a hardware difference as well between the 2000 series and the 4000 series, but we're just talking about the additional software that you can access here. So with that opened, PicoDiagnostics it's called. We'll have a few boxes there on the left hand side. There's battery test, compression test, cylinder balance, NVH, which is noise, vibration and harshness, and prop shaft balancing. So I can't see me ever going down the NVH route, but certainly these three are worth a look at. So we'll open up battery test and see what it looks like. So this battery of mine is it's not great by the looks of it. And according to this wee tester, yeah, it reads the voltage the same, state of charge 50%, 51%. 312 EN, this is a 500 amp EN battery. So state of health, recharge it says. We'll just do a quick voltage test with the PicoDiagnostics software. What you can do as well with it is put a clump around the battery cable and introduce a channel B on the Pico. But what I'm interested in here is just to see if the Pico complies with that wee tester. Now you may notice that's another wee Hantek device there. So I do use Hantek accessories, you know, attenuator, the leads that I shown earlier on there, and this wee tool, and I have a few other wee Hantek things as well. So we're not knocking Hantek completely here. That's what this video is not about that. But okay, we'll go on to the PicoDiagnostics. So we'll put a few details in down at the bottom. So it's 12 volts, it's lead acid, 500 CCA. The CCA unit is an EN, given an EN on this particular one, according to the label on top of it. But I'm going to reduce that temperature down because according to the thermometer in the car, it's 10 degrees in here. So we'll hit start. Please start the engine. Right, we can knock that off. So we'll have a wee closer look at this data. So the Pico isn't very happy with this battery, and it doesn't agree with the handheld tester. Initial voltage 12.2, yeah, well we know it needs charge. State of charge 60%. Lowest voltage 12.1. Maximum current 1 amp. Internal resistance minus 74. Capacity condition replace. Battery has failed. Maybe the information on the starter motor resistance 11.4 ohms, and then the alternator there. So it gives you the alternator ripple 284 millivolts. Now, sort of a rule of thumb I think people go by is anything less than 300 millivolts for the ripple is okay. So it's a wee bit touch and go there with the ripple. It's on the high side, but that would be deemed as okay anyway. And the ripple current then is 601 milliamps. So yeah, interesting stuff that. So it looks like I might be looking at a new battery sometime in the future, but for now I'm going to give it a good charge because it's been sitting outside for a while and the temperature isn't good. It's getting really cold and it's winter time here, so that doesn't do the lead acid batteries any good at all. I ran that wee tester again just after we did that engine startup, and it's now saying to replace. Right, we're not going to leave it there. We're going to do that test again, introduce the amp clamp, and I've had this battery on charge. So before we go any further, there's more information available here at the top of the screen. If you hit options and hit help, and it gives you a lot of information on this type of testing. So interesting bit here is this note. It is important not to confuse the industry standard method of battery testing, SIE, EIN and DIN, with the PicoDiagnostics battery test, even though the results are stated in the same units of CCA, that's cold crank and amps. The CCA rating of any battery is a figure arrived at by design. Therefore, any battery test result measured in CCA obtained by running a PicoDiagnostics battery test can only ever be an instantaneous and calculated estimate based on the measured resistance of the battery. Okay, with the advantage of being able to safely draw current from the battery where other tests don't. So yeah, that's interesting. So okay, so I think we will attach the clamp this time for sure. Based on that, we'll get a better accuracy, I think. So there's a wee bit more on that setup there. There's another test you can do here, extended drop test. We introduce channel C and D, and that's between the starter motor positive terminal and the starter motor negative terminal. And it says here, this will enable PicoDiagnostics to separate the cable resistance from the starter motor resistance. Okay, so a wee bit more accurate results for the starter motor resistance, because I did think it was a bit high there. And yeah, a wee bit on 24 volt systems there. Set the temperature to the local ambient air temperature, depending on your settings. Okay, right, well, we'll do that. We did that anyway the last time. Running the test there and interpreting the results. So yeah, worth a read that, I think. Right, so we'll take this charger off and we'll do a voltage measurement. At the top of the page on the PicoDiagnostics thing that I read out, and I didn't read it out, I talked about the surface charge. So we are going to have a surface charge, and it says the advice it gives there is to put the lights on for 2 minutes and then let it rest for a further 2 minutes. And so I'm not going to bore you with that, so I'm going to do that and we'll take another voltage measurement. Right, so we'll just quickly set up the amp clamp. This amp clamp has a whirly wheel here, so it's not a button job. 600 amp clamp and 1 millivolt per amp. So we'll switch her on, and if we turn our wheel, we can see there we're reading, that would be 5 amps then. So we'll zero it. Now we're going to be drawing, what, 150 amps or something off starter motor. So an amp or two or half an amp will not make any difference for this test. But position of the amp clamp, you can put it on the positive or negative. The negative's handier here for me. Single lead, and it's looking at us. and it doesn't really matter, but we need to get the orientation right. So positive goes that way. So if you imagine the positive terminal will be here, then the positive lead will go that way and it faces up. We're going to put it on the negative. But another way, if you couldn't be bothered doing any sort of, putting any sort of thought into it, what you can do is you can just stick it around it there and turn the ignition on. So with the fuel pump running and we're still taking, what was that, about 5 amps, we know that we're on wrong. So we're going to just flip around because it was minus there, now it's positive. That's us set up for test number 2. No, it isn't. Incorrect probe connected. Channel B, please connect Pico BNC plus 2000 amp current clamp or generic 2000 amp current clamp. So what I have on there is a generic 600 amp clamp, but it's exactly the same as the Pico 600 amp clamp. So yeah, to do this test we need a 2000 amp clamp. So okay, that's next in the shopping list, I suppose. We'll run it again with a voltage only. So I've put in the details there again, 500 EN, it's now 9 degrees in here. So we'll do it again, see what it says, without the clamp. So there's the results for the second test. State of charge 100%. Still says the battery's no good. Yeah, clearly the current and stuff is wrong because we're not measuring current. The ripples come down slightly, probably because there's a bit more voltage there to start with, and obviously it's not seeing the capacity there because we haven't got a clamp on it. But that's disappointing that this wouldn't use that clamp. But okay, we'll see what our wee handheld tester says now. So here's our handheld test result. Replace 12.79 volts, state of charge 100%, which is correct, state of health 41%. So yeah, both tools have condemned this battery, but yeah, I would really like to do it with a current clamp after seeing the amount of detail that's available there on the Pico. But nevertheless, yeah, it's all a learning curve. It's the first time I've used that. Just making sure I can still run this current clamp on this Pico here. It's a wee bit worrying that. So let me see, 600 amp clamp. So it seems to be that it wants the 2000 amp clamp to do that battery test. So I'll just stick a bit of filtering in that. So there's a big difference between the 2000 and the 4000 there. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll put a long time base on it, and we will put a bit of load on it. Stop that and have a wee look back. Yeah, well, that's dead on. Seems to be okay. So what do we get there? I just ran that again there to get it all into one frame of the fuel pump coming on. So over here, I'm pretty happy that's the ignition coming on and stuff like that. So that's the inrush of the fuel pump starting up, and then we have this massive spike here. The blue is the voltage, so you can see the wee voltage dip there, where the inrush is occurring, and then we have this massive spike, which goes up to 124 amps. There's it there, and it lasts for 26 milliseconds, and then we scroll on. The fuel pump, then the current increases at this point, and then knocks off. So I honestly don't know what that spike is there at 124 amps. And then the fuel pump, you know, is it because the pressure increases or something, and it's having to go up? So I'm not too sure. There we go. Anybody any suggestions? I don't know the answer to that. And any thoughts in the comments? Okay, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. All the best, and